I think the ability to navigate in a dynamic sort of a space is another key thing. So women are able to analyze the pros and cons of any sort of situation or any investment opportunity or any discussion that we're doing in a very balanced way, and also have an empathetic point of view to the person on the other side. And I think that has always helped get closures where you're able to understand the point of view, you're able to lay it out fully, and have a balanced approach to making the final decision.
It's very important for women to invest in themselves. I think they go out and do their best for everybody else around themselves. They work very hard professionally, very hard for family, but we need to prioritize ourselves. I think that's what will keep us going.
I believe it is about that perseverance, that patience, that trust, that empathy on the other side. Each and every one of us have the ability to actually close deals. It's just about how prepared you are, what is your product knowledge, doing your homework well, ensuring in that particular deal I will be able to close it because I know the facts of the case.
Hi, I'm Sonali.
Hi, I'm Deepa.
And we are
the
Women in Banking. So today we're going to be discussing closing deals in heels. Sonali, why don't you tell us what's your journey been like?
I had a woman boss and she was like extremely sharp with her numbers, knew her stuff, saw her negotiating, closing deals, met fund managers. Mutual funds was very new at that time in the industry. Them pitching on their portfolios, their investment styles, and taking independent decisions, along with her, really sort of made a big learning journey for me at that point. So again, deal making was constantly about working with a team of people. Wealth management was new, counseling people on how to do investments, meeting customers. And interestingly, in our field, we have a lot of women over the years who are actually the top deal makers.
So did you feel overwhelmed during this journey with lots of, you spoke about family offices and things like that, a lot of men on the opposite?
I think what's important is to know your subject and to be competent. And as long as you have the capability, I think your voice is heard.
Yes.
And interestingly, in early years when I started working with several of, large families, I had many of the male decision makers who started to introduce their spouses, their daughters, their daughter-in-laws into the decision-making process because they saw someone like me who was helping them take decisions on their wealth, managing money for them. And I think that has been a sort of a learning experience. In fact, today in our industry across, not just at Axis Bank, but across the industry, we have some of the top private bankers are women. And I think they work wonderfully because it's a business of firstly competence and knowledge and capability. So I think that sort of puts things well in place.
Yes.
And secondly, it's a relationship building business over a period of time.
Nice. That's interesting. Deepa, you've had an interesting career and picked up lots of new roles along the journey. So tell us a little bit about that.
It was important for me to learn something extra, something additional. So I did an executive MBA, took a 1-year sabbatical, and I joined Axis Bank way back in 2009 into a segment which was called the Relationship Management Group, where I handled clients like power, road projects, etc. And there I could see that the other relationship managers there were all men, and they have been experts at it. So they have been there in that business, they understand very well in terms of the actual nuances of the roads, the other things that go around with it.
So the sector knowledge was very, very important.
The sector knowledge was extremely important. And I remember the first time I came to my manager, I came with a 4 crore check.
Nice.
And he said, where did you get this check from? So I said that, that was a deal that I was doing.
And were you wearing heels when you closed the deal?
Absolutely, absolutely. But he didn't believe it because nobody actually thought I would be able to make that kind of a deal so soon into my role. And that too without making the noise, the, halla gulla about it, saying that, I have done a big deal. I just came and very innocently asked him, where do I deposit this check? So he kind of asked everybody, he said, see, you know, when we make even 20 lakhs, 1 crore fees, we make such noise, and there is this 4 crore deals that
I
has
think
come
as
in.
women, we need to celebrate our achievements
Absolutely.
more and louder
Absolutely.
and in a
Yeah.
very fashionable way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
But starting from having the conversation of the CFO of that company to doing the deal, giving him the actual sanction letter, and he taking the disbursement, even the other person never believed that I could do this. So internally, I realized that I have traveled through the entire credit team, the risk team, convincing everybody in the process to give him what he got, right? So that trust, that patience, the trust from the stakeholder in me, and the patience that I showed in managing this entire stakeholder was something which I felt was very important in the deal.
Self-belief, right? It's the self-belief in what you are capable of doing and to be able to do it. I think that's, hearing about you is one of the, biggest testimonies to your success as you're sort of talking about it.
So that I took a move to Mumbai, and I have been moving as my husband moved due to his professional requirements.
And what was his journey like while you were moving cities and roles and stuff? How was he partnering in that journey with you?
So in fact, most of the journey has been triggered by him saying that, I am moving here. And he never pressurized me to move along. But the organization has been, I've been very grateful to the organization that they realize that yes, there is somebody who has the capability to do it. And accordingly, let's give a role which is suitable, right? So they really figured it out, and I'm extremely grateful for that. And the fact that I have been able to demonstrate that I have actually, can deliver is something which is hugely satisfying.
What's really interesting is, the fact that you've not just done, it's not diverse, I think very different kinds of roles. And you've taken up that challenge each time. I'm just, coming to you, Neeru, so from an HR perspective, how do you see when women are sort of given the choice of taking up different roles, like in the case of, how's your experience been?
So a little bit about my own journey. I've actually worked across industries and across geographies in India and outside. So, in terms of women's potential and their ability to take on new challenges actually has been different across industries.
To women and to a lot of peers, colleagues, or women in our teams, I feel that you see the percentage of women in early career is moving up. But as we move to middle management and senior management, we do see that number coming off, and we can do better. And how one can actually support and mentor women at that point of time to say that it's okay. You don't need to be the best mom, the best wife, the best daughter-in-law, the best professional, top rated, right, in everything. So it's okay, and you make your choices. So I think I did that, right? You will go through the ups and downs, and the power of compounding will play out. And I use that analogy for, our careers.
As well,
Let's be there, hang in there, stay invested. And the power of compounding is going to play out for you. So I think that if we can, I just feel that even if you can make a difference to a few women who are in our teams, who we interact with, I think can be a journey where we can get a lot more women into the foray.
I think as we are naturally, empowered or endowed to do such kind of roles, because you are dealing with people on a daily basis, whether at home, with your children, you are making those negotiations. You are actually having a much better, I would say, innate ability
to close deals.
To close deals, because you can understand the other psychology much better. You know what the child is thinking, and hence, what will I tell that child to ensure that he agrees to what I am saying. Similarly, at a workplace, I think our ability to collaborate, to ensure that we take everybody along to close deals, negotiate better with the customers, because you know what is it thinking. It's not about closing the deals by saying that, I will give you a lesser price, or my price is lower than the other bank. It's about ensuring that I know the customer much better. and your needs much better. And hence I am able to give you the deal that you wanted.
I also see a few things that work very brilliantly for women to be able to get deals. One is around being able to handle complex situations. I think we are, naturally handling complexity in our lives all the time, right? And deals is always about navigating, because the environment is very dynamic, and women do come up with creative solutions. The other thing that I think is that women value respect and don't necessarily put ego in the front. Right, and that I think again in deal making is very critical, and that helps you, get. How have you seen, Neeru, when you interact with several women, and especially now the the new gen and the new millennials, their sort of view on sales roles versus other kinds of roles.
I think the new generation, or at least the generation that's entering the workforce right now, is coming from a place of not being judged or not being as, not been in biased situations in the past. So they come from a place of having equal opportunity even during their education and things like that. So we have a great pipeline of talent, and across not just sales, be it even in dealing rooms, right, which is a very stressful environment where you have a client on the other side. He needs speed, he needs a conversation, he needs an intelligence, he needs execution abilities. We have some phenomenal guys, phenomenal women, doing that job right now. So in terms of talent availability, it's great. It's a great time. In terms of the organization and leaders providing their opportunity, I think we're in a great space. So it's a great place. I mean, we have women in research, who are doing number crunching, modeling, pitching to clients, making those presentations, traveling on odd hours. So it's a great space, and I feel so good.
Yeah, in fact, in the private equity space, today in the younger, younger lot of women, there are much larger percentage of women, like you rightly said today. What do you think could be, if any, like, some policies that actually work in favor of this pipeline continuing to stay as they move into larger roles and, larger leadership roles?
I don't think it's so much of a policy attribute. I think it's the culture within the organization and the space, the safe space that leaders can provide, the environment that you can provide, and then I think women are good to flourish. One thing we've also seen is that women they're good at taking ownership on something. They're also more diligent. They also work hard. I wouldn't say harder, because then I don't want to sound biased to men, but I think their ability to take ownership, once given, you can trust them, you can rest a deal with them.
Yeah, their attention to detail, being thorough in everything, I think is like, definitely, at the cost of being biased.
Nothing takes away the elements like hard work, passion, perseverance, patience, and the fact that, as you mentioned, people are trusting on you, right? So because they feel that you are somebody who is with that kind of a trust, I mean, that kind of plays out.
I think the great thing today is that, the ability for us to be able to create many more networking platforms for, women who've been through it, women who've kind of, worked through, and if we can create more such platforms for the, younger gen to interact and keep hearing stories, I think that can really help the cause of getting women to be there, right, and be some of the top deal makers. As we have
women
seen.
as leaders, as you rightly pointed out, they are again nurturing, right? So taking the team together, ensuring the right kind of mentorship is available to the right women, for that matter, everybody. But if we see somebody struggling and saying that, probably I will not be able to go beyond this, I think it's also incumbent on us to actually have that conversation, support them at that stage, because I guess it's very critical, because if they stay during that time, they would possibly reach the leadership themselves.
You have to stay invested.
Absolutely, you have to stay invested and hang in there, right?
Yes.
There is no role that does not come with demands or pressure, right? So is sales. Sales becomes more objective, because what you're doing is very objectively can be recognized or valued for
in numbers.
So I feel that that's probably a great path for women to follow through and not undergo that feeling of bias, if any, which we talk about in the corporate world. So
and closing deals is not just in sales, right? Like in my role, when I'm talking to a candidate, ensuring that we can close that conversation is like closing deals, right, for us every day. So anything I think that can make an impact. for the organization is like closing a deal for us, right? And we do it all the time. I think
Very interesting. I mean, would you like to talk a little more about, when you're talking to candidates and, influencing them to take up a role or?
Yes, yes. It's like any other deal. It's got negotiation. You need to know what the role is all about. You're able to sell the organization, give them a larger picture of what the organization can do for them. Getting them from their existing role and telling them that being at Axis or being in any new opportunity is a greater opportunity for them. I think it's our ability to convince them, and I think I've been able to do a fairly decent job. I think a lot of people have actually come back and told me that they have joined the organization basis the interactions that they've had with us or a bunch of leaders. So to be able to in a way sell the role and convincing somebody to take on an opportunity, I think, yeah.
It's a very unique concept of building relationship with a person from the beginning itself, knowing them and ensuring that you are a partner in their growth as well, which is
they
hugely
need to put
critical.
a lot of trust in us, right? So when we're the first person to interact with them, everything that we say, right? Because that's the starting point for a conversation. So I think their ability to trust in what we're saying, our ability to kind of deliver on the promises we made, because we're working with them through that journey, right? From the first day within an organization to the exit and beyond. And I've had the good fortune of actually rehiring some of those people because the experience has been so great. Or the trust in the organization and the person has been so great.
What you said is very interesting. The relationships that I had developed with promoters, CXOs of companies when I was in Delhi or Bangalore, I see most of them still calling me and asking for, even if it is not related to me, they would say, we know that you are in a different role, but we deal with this bank because you are there. We know that we can trust you with almost everything, right? So in some of these aspects, the ability to build that relationship and stay invested with them also gives us, makes us good salesperson, right? So I guess, and you are in that sense one of the best salespeople.
Relationship building, I think, is a key factor to any conversation or any deal, right? And I think women do a great job at it. I've always believed that women are great at deal closures, and through this conversation it's just reinstated my belief that we can really close deals. So Sonali, tell me your top 2 mantras when you're in the room on that final conversation to closing a deal, like the closure. How do you do it? What's your mantra?
I think the first and foremost thing, and my mantra always is that you need to know your stuff absolutely bang on well. And second is to be absolutely persistent and not give up.
Any advantages as a woman?
I think the ability to navigate in a dynamic sort of a space, because it's pretty fluid. A deal can be fluid, you will have competition, there could be objection handling, I think is another key thing. So to be able to anticipate what could be the pros and cons, and I think what women do well, and that works in our industry, especially in wealth management, is balancing a risk. So I think women are able to analyze the pros and cons of any sort of situation or any investment opportunity or any discussion that we are doing in a very balanced way, and also have an empathetic point of view to the person on the other side. And I think that has always helped get closures where you're able to understand the point of view, you're able to lay it out fully and have a balanced approach to making the final decision. So I think that gets you in.
I think it's also our ability to absorb the stress in the room sometimes. You're able to absorb the stress and bring in that objectivity to finally get to closure. What about you, Deepa? What's your mantra been like?
No, I guess closing the deals and heels only adds up that much more inches to the entire visibility or take a deep dive into the situation. But I would just like to expand on what Sonali said right now, is that see, one of the feedbacks that I had received once from one of my managers was that, why don't you take no for an answer? So sometimes I actually felt that, is it a negative? And then I realized that my ability to say no actually got me the deals, saying that, why will I not be able to close this deal? So I believe it is about, men or women, it's about having that instinct, having that force within you to close the deals. apart from the fact that we have some distinctive advantages in terms of, like I said, empathy, maybe slightly better negotiation skills because we are doing that all the time. But I believe it is about that perseverance, that patience, that trust, that empathy on the other side. And I believe that each and every one of us have the ability to actually close deals.
Yeah.
It's just about how prepared you are.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
is
I
your
think
product
Sonali also
knowledge?
spoke about the same thing. Right?
Absolutely.
Doing
It's your
homework.
product knowledge,
Yeah.
doing your homework
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
ensuring in that particular deal, I will be able to close it because I know the facts of the case.
Yeah.
I am well entrenched into this deal to close it. And they actually trust you on that sense. Right.
Eventually, I think it's being a thorough professional that gets you the deal, be it a man or a woman.
Yeah.
So there is, nothing aside of that.
So we've spoken about closing deals. Do you want to talk about a time that you were just about getting closure to the deal and you missed it? And how did that make you feel and what was your learning for the next closure?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not been a journey of, getting all the deals in.
Yeah.
But I think it's about reflecting back to see what could have been done better.
Yeah.
Because many a times it's not the merit of what you brought. There could be something that
Yeah,
tips off the
tons of
deal at the
factors,
last moment. But when you look back and reflect on what could have been, done differently, I think helps you sort of learn from those experiences. And I think that has been something which I think goes a long way. And in fact, that's a point I also want to talk about for women in general. When we get feedback, and you spoke about it several times, we get feedback, is to be very, sometimes the inherent reaction is to become defensive, right? And I think one should steer away from it and be very open to constructive feedback.
Yeah.
Because I think in our career journeys,
That's a career advice,
it's
right?
sort
For anybody, I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
to be open to feedback. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
No, absolutely. I guess we lost many deals, and I personally, as a team.
Because you've heard so many, I mean, with you, there were a few here. I believe that we can go out and close every deal we set
No,
up.
we did
But yeah, I
close,
know
yeah.
we've all had our share of maybe missing
yeah.
out on a few.
But I think that's being an eternal positive person. I always felt that it was important for me to lose those deals because, and I'm reading a book called Productive Failures. I guess if you fail, you know your mistakes. You know what you can do better the next time. Yeah. It helps you make yourself prepared even more for the next deals. Yeah. So I get it is an opportunity for us to sharpen ourselves more, prepare ourselves better. And like you said, there is no other mantra than hard work, perseverance, ensuring that you give your 100%. There is no shortcuts to that.
So as we close this conversation, I know we've spoken about all the good things, but that one piece of advice to newer women who are now entering the workforce, especially aspiring to be in sales and close deals, what would that be?
So my one mantra is create a personal brand for yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And be ready to take risks and challenges.
Yeah. Sonali?
I believe, yes, anybody who is entering into the sales, I believe they are coming with a lot of commitment to be there, to do well. The way I would look at it is that, please, earlier in our days, probably there were not many, I would say, what do you say, those role models, okay, sorry. There were not many role models. Today, the role models are many. And if you give your 100% and if you wish to stay in this business, and believe me, sales is just an extension of any other role that you do.
So I think my last bit would be that I think, and this is one of the things we didn't pick up as much, that it's very important for women to invest in themselves. I think they go out and do their best for everybody else around themselves. They work very hard professionally, very hard for family, but we need to prioritize ourselves. I think that's what will keep us going, because it's a long journey, it's a marathon. So you have to invest in yourself through it, be it your physical well-being, your mental well-being, things you do that, that's your own space, your me time, I think is very, very important. So stay invested in the long run, and the world's out there, and yeah, we have tons of role models here, and I think you can yourself become another role model for us. So thank you so much.